Cheers, mate. The barrier. Are you streaming this stream?
Yeah, the speech.
Rohan's back.
You should go tie it onto the bottom.
First speech of the night by the father of the groom.
Just like to your followers. Oh shit.
Thank you very much.
Is it on?
Yeah, we're getting it on, loud and clear. All right, and so it will be brief, but we do have to cover a few things, including the wedding blessing, the Irish toast, and then the food blessing at the very end. But I know everyone's hungry, so I will get through this. I think it's, with all due respect, we should start with a really nice round of applause for the wedding celebrant, Tom White. Jessica came along with Elliot and said, hey, who, of all your friends, which guy's out there that just reminds you totally of the moment and the whole day?
Who's out there?
And I gotta tell you, a guy who's close to my heart, who's extremely in touch with the Lord, is Tom, and he did an outstanding job from start to finish, and I couldn't be more thankful. Love you. Next, Jane and I would like to thank Sharon and Jim for raising such a beautiful daughter, both in, where is my brother from another mother? Where is he?
He's not even in here.
Oh, come on.
Take a break.
Would you check the men's room, please?
He went to check his tie.
I do want to wait for him for a
We
second.
can wait.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, okay.
I'll do a
Tell a joke.
shoe or something.
sock
like
shoe.
that. I'll talk
Hey,
about Tom
hey,
again.
Irish Jake, Irish Jake.
Helen, get a pen there. I'm not going to do that.
Talk about how good the Redskins are going to be this year. And those Indian Eagles.
World champion Eagles?
Yeah, they are.
That was last year.
Talk about Penn State, yeah.
We are.
How
We
about
are.
Penn State and K-West?
We are.
What?
There
Thanks, Joe. Hey, Jim, before you sit down, you got a little bit of toilet paper on Back on track. Jane and I would especially like to thank Sharon and Jim for raising such a beautiful daughter, both inside and out, extremely talented. I'm not going to go totally into what Jane and I think about Jessica at this point. A little bit I will, but I'd especially like to thank you two for raising such a wonderful child. So thank you very much. You know, we came from far and away, crossing the great Atlantic to get here to visit this beautiful Emerald Island, and to be here to make it extra special for Jess and Elle today. And I'd like to start first with just saying thanks to everyone here, starting with my favorite brother's family, along with our dear friends from Maryland. Thank you very much. Love you, brother. The whole gang from Doylestown here, who Jane and I just left after 26 years, along with our dear friends from Milford, Connecticut, and the great state of Washington. So, thank you. I'd also, on behalf of Elliot and Jessica, like to thank their dear friends, along with their college buds, from the Big Apple. We have people from Arlington, Virginia, from Richmond, Virginia, Chicks Beach. I'll just say this, the Chicks Beach, you would think of Chicks Beach, right? Flip-flops, shorts, Bermuda shirt. Maybe put that bill. Oh, there he is over there. He did once own a suit. He really did, but it was a long time ago. I'd also like to thank all of the friends, and they've made some very close friends. I'd like to say work colleagues of Jess, but I don't think she'd like me to characterize them, so I'll just say her dear friends and everyone else from Virginia Beach. So good to be here as well. South Carolina's represented twice, both from Charleston and Myrtle Beach. So. And last but not least, from the sunny state of Florida, Naples, Florida, my best friend, my wife for 40 years. We've been together now almost 47 years, so we've been dating since she was in diapers. And my beautiful bride, Jane. So. So stay seated right now for the wedding blessing, and then I will ask you to stand for the toast. So for the wedding blessing, may the saddest day of your future be no worse than the happiest days of your past. May your hands be forever clasped in friendship and your hearts joined forever in love. Your lives are very special. God has touched you in many ways. May His blessings rest upon you and fill all your coming days. Okay, now, if everyone would grab a glass, we're going to do a toast, and it's going to be said in traditional Irish. Elliot August, Jessica, the faithful Anise, Donna Bosa, and Chicago O'Shea, O'Shea Bala, Contigo Coculium Plagiator, Didu Bano Arreo. Translation means, Elliot and Jessica, may you both give more to your marriage each and every day than you take from it. From this day forth until you meet again in heaven, may God bless you both.
There you go.
Thank you, Jack.
All right, you can all sit down now.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, my
We're still up.
If everybody grab a nice big glass of wine, you got your wine, we'll get you through this part in quick record time and get on to Sharon's speech and then food. I guess before I relate to you how I came to know of Jessica through a phone call that Elliot made to me, I'd just like to back up a second and relay something of my new favorite brother from another mother. Thank you, Jessica's dad, Jim.
Thank you, brother.
So Jim said, hey man, have you heard what the boys done to us? I said, no, what? The suit. You know, what about the suit? Oh, I hear it's a dandy. I said, well, as a matter of fact, I'm heading down. And he picked one out and we got it a good deal at Macy's. And I said, well, I'll let you know when I go there. So the suit that he's picked out for Jim and I to fit into is called a Calvin Klein Ultra Slim Extreme Fit. Show up and put the pants on. Jane's with me. I tried the first pair of pants on. She says, how do they fit? I said, not bad. Then I tried the coat on, and I'm like, what the heck was this? Lo and behold, I pull his card out. It was keto diet, get the mellow. So my man and I, for the last 4 months, have not seen or smell a car. So at the end of your dinner, if there's any leftover bread, I'll be glad to so thank you, Duffy, for these things. So how did I get to meet, come to know Jessica? There was a phone call a little over 4 years ago, if you can believe it. And back then, Elliot and I would talk about every other day, if you can believe it. So pretty special father and son. Every other day we talk. Since Jessica's come along, I might say I get an occasional text. It's usually with Ricky and Dennis about some food that they're making. My name chimes in every now and then, but Jets. So 4.5 years ago, and by the way, Elliot and I, if it's serious, he refers to me as Dad. And in return, if I have something serious to say, it's usually El or Elliot. That's usually when, okay, we know something's coming down here, we better get on the same wavelength here. But typically, day in, day out, we refer to each other as Bill. He calls me Bill or Billy. We signed all the cars. Thank you, Billy, for letting you know. So a little over 4 years ago, I get this call, and it was, "Hey, Bill." I go, "Yeah, what's up?" He goes, "I don't know, Bill." I go, "What?" He says, "I think I may have found the one." I said, "What?" "Do tell." He goes, "No, I'm serious. She's like anything I've ever dated before." I said, "El, you're killing me here. I'm going to know all the details." Well, we actually caught eyes with each other on a dance floor. The next thing we know, we're dancing. I said, "Okay, what else? Tell me something about her. Now, what does she look like?" "Well, they said, some people say she looks like a young Demi Moore."
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. I said, "What else?" He goes, "Well, she's half Lebanese, half Welsh." I go, "Okay. What else?" He goes, "Dad, you'll like this one. She's very Catholic. Not only is she very Catholic, she likes to read at church."
Oh, no, you're done.
I'm like, he's even been known to smoke or puff on an occasional. Now, about this time, I'm starting to have beads of sweat. I'm like, "Oh my God. What does she do for a living?" "Oh, Dad, she works for a great company. They're so cool. It's like she gets up, she's so motivated, goes to work with a smile on her face, comes home. She just loves the people, the environment that she works with." I said, "Wow. Now, what am I going to say now?" I said, "I got to go for it." I said, "Well, does she like football?" He said, "Dad, now I know it's serious." He goes, "Not only does she like football, but all her family is from Richmond, and they're all crazy, lunatic Redskin fans." So at this point, there's a big pause on the phone. He's like, "Bill, you there? Bill." I said, "Let me get this right. You've met somebody that's very religious, very Catholic, who reads at church, who likes bourbon, who likes to smoke on a cigar occasionally, who's a diehard Redskin fan, and she's half Lebanese." And at that point, for those that know you, I love to cook and I like to eat a lot too. But I'm thinking of labna, I'm thinking of baba ganoush, I'm thinking of hummus, I'm thinking maybe grilled lamb, I'm thinking all the good stuff, right? I'm like, wow, Lebanese people, I mean, the families are pretty big. They're not I'm like, wow. I said, "And a Redskin fan to boot." So at this point, I said, "El, listen to me, real close. You listening, son? Yeah. Don't blow this one." And I did add, and he'll attest to this, I did add right after that. I said, "In fact, put a rock on it, and a big rock." He goes, "Dad, we've been dating 3 weeks." seriously, Jessica, Jane and I couldn't be more over the moon about the fact that it's now official. You're our daughter-in-law. Elliot's 37 years old now. I think he waited for I think God was looking down, Jane and Papa was looking down, and he waited because he knew you were coming into his life, and we just love you to death. So at this point, the best man usually roasts the groom, whatever it is. But in this beautiful castle, I think I'll skip the tradition.
Roast them.
Well, you know what? Seriously, it's the Fitzgerald Castle. We're Fitzgibbons. So you know what? There's a little bit of something mojo going on. You know what? I'll just share 3 quick ones. 3 quick ones. And this is just to depict how easy of a child he was to parent. And he really was. I mean, Elliot was never a Boy Scout, but I think had he gotten into Boy Scouts, he would have been an Eagle Scout. So 3 quick ones. I'll call it the mower,
The mower.
the Wolverine, and Oh Holy Night. So the mower, right? We moved 1 billion times with corporate America. Every 16 months I get tapped, we're going to here. So we went twice in Maryland, then we went to Boston. And each time we'd move, I'd get a different lawnmower. I started off first, believe it or not, in the same neighborhood with Lynn and Dave. That's where we got to know them. I had a great Black & Decker that had a cord on it. You had to be careful not to electrocute yourself. From there I progressed up, and by the time I got to Boston, it was a self-propelled lawnmower with a bagger on it. And by then I had developed this affinity for cutting nice stripes in the lawn, up and down. Right? All the neighbors used to say, "Oh my God, that guy's a nut. Look at his lawn." Then we got promoted, we got out to Minnesota, the great state of Minnesota, Minneapolis. And there I got my first riding lawnmower, and that was big time. And again, I'm still diagonal now, and I'm back, and no clippings, and I'm like, man, this is Shaver City, right? So then, 18 months in Minneapolis, they said, hey, you can take your choice here. We need you to go out. You can take the Carolinas, or you can take the Mid-Atlantic and go back to Maryland. So Maryland being my hometown, our hometown, said, no brainer, we're going to go to Maryland. So we bought this house, smaller lot than actually the house that we had built in Minneapolis. So I said, you know what? We can keep the same lawnmower for the first time. We're going to keep this lawnmower. So I'm like, wow, this is great. 16 months roll by. Get tapped on the shoulder and they said, hey, we want you to go to New York. And that's where I drew the line. I said, I'm not going to New York. They said, well, listen, you can move the office. So I said, So I found this office and I moved to this great town we call Doylestown, with all these lovely folks.
Yes.
Now this house had 4.5 acres to it. And by now, Elliot was in the 8th grade, right? So the deal was, and a nice little fishing boat I had gotten in Minnesota that was collecting dust, never got out. He's playing soccer, basketball, baseball, and on the weekends I was doing all that and trying to care for 4.5 acres of grass. And again, I like to cut it up and back something, diagonal and all this. So we had met some friends from one of the soccer teams, and it was in the fall, and that's when the grass tends to grow real high. And that one lawnmower that I had brought from Minnesota to Maryland up to here, it just wasn't doing it on the weekends. In fact, he used to get out with his brother and they'd have to rake it and rake it. It was like, hey, on one lawnmower. Then lo and behold, I said, you know what, this is BS. I'm gonna go out. These guys might know it, Moyer and Sons. I go to Moyer and Sons, and I get a big one this time. This one's 54 inches, 4.5 feet wide, triple blade.
Commercial.
Spins so fast, right? So I go to the guy and I'm talking to him. I said, well, tell me a little bit about this. He goes, well, obviously it's 4.5 feet of cutting power. And you can see here, this is the Kohler Commander, 30 horsepower. I go, 30 horsepower? Holy cow. He goes, yeah. He says, now you can see there's 4 gears here. He goes, you tend to even cut grass in first, but maybe you'll go to second. Never, ever go to third. I said, well, if I don't go to third, what's fourth for? He says, fourth is for, the guys that go down the street and cut multiple houses, and they're cruising down it. You don't even think about it. First or second, that's what you're gonna do. I said, okay. So again, it's a Saturday afternoon. His brother's in the back on the smaller one, cutting a little area. And I'm looking at all this, and we had trees going up the driveway that needed to be weed whacked, and I was out of the trimmer. So I'm thinking, how am I gonna do all this? Cut the grass, trim the trees, we got a cookout coming and all this. So I'm gonna do over here to the 8th grader, because he is Mr. Eagle Scout in the making, right? He's gonna do exactly what he taught. So here it is. You get Elliot out on the tractor. I said, Elliot, all I want you to do is go straight up, straight back, straight up, straight back. I'll be back in 15 minutes. You got it? Yeah, Dad, and he's excited to be on the Polar Command. So I go to Boyer and Son, his brother's in the back. I said, I got this made. As I come back 15 minutes later, again, I like it straight up and down, straight up and down. I'm driving up the driveway, and I'm looking over. What the hell is going on here? It's a figure 8. It's all So as I drive up the driveway, I get out. Here's my new Polar Commander in 4th gear, smashed into the side of the garage. With a broken axle. As I look down, it's in 4th gear.
Go harder, go home.
Next one's a little quicker. It's the Wolverine. So the Wolverine goes something like this. Elliot's now a senior in high school. And being that Eagle Scout wannabe, when he goes out got his license with his buzz, and he went to Archbishop Wood High School, good Catholic high school. Some of his buds went to LaSalle, others went to CBUS. Upstanding young men, right? When they get back, usually on a Thursday or Friday night. When they get back on a Thursday or Friday night from doing all these good deeds, helping convalescent homes out, people cross the street, whatever. Oddly enough, they always came back in the house and they were famished. They were starving. And anything that wasn't nailed or locked down in the refrigerator, these guys, the Wolverines, would eat it. So he's now a senior in high school. He's out for his week-long break for Christmas. And I'm sitting in an office up in Allentown. It's a nice little office I managed, 60 people, no stress. It was great. So I get this call one morning, and it was on a Thursday. It said, Fitz, we want you to take the big office, because we just merged and formed a new company, and yada, yada. It says, where? They go, up in Somerset, New Jersey. Now, Tommy and I, we used to look at each other 7 o'clock in the mornings, wave to each other, because he was in one building over. So they called me at 9 o'clock Thursday morning and said, Fitz, we want you to get up there, see your team, 3 o'clock this afternoon, and just make an appearance. I said, okay. So I go up, and I had a management staff. There was 260 people that in this office, and 22 managers that I now had to make friends with. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a half-hour meeting. I leave to come back to Doylestown. I said, Jane, I said, do me a favor. She says, what? I said, well, I just agreed to participate into an office Christmas party the next day and bringing enough food for 22 people. And I was bragging about my Kluge dish with 5 pounds of sausage in it, along with sauteed onions and sour cream and all this stuff. I said, so go to Ilg's, a really good German market. These guys know Ilg's. Go to Ilg's and pick up 5 pounds of sausage real quick and get back. So she's doing that, and I'm driving now back down from Somerset, New Jersey. Long story short, I put it all together. It took me 2 hours to get this humongous dish to feed 22 people. Jesus, right? And it was beautiful, guys. It was freaking beautiful, right? The onions layered and the butter and the sausage and the whole bit. So I put it all to bed. It's 10 o'clock, and I got to get up the next morning to go up to the new office and participate in this. And so I get up in the morning, I have my coffee, and I go downstairs. I'm like, all right, so I'm ready to go. I pull out the platter, and Jane had nicely put the tinfoil over it. I don't know what possessed me, but I took the tinfoil off. And as I took the tinfoil off, I walk out into the foyer, and I'm yelling up to Jane, Jane, he ate all my friggin' sausage. There wasn't one piece of the 5-pound sausage.
It was just sauce. He left.
So the last one was Oh Holy Night.
Oh, Lord.
Elliot's now a senior at Penn State. He's due back in a few days, and we're thinking, okay, we have time to go see a Christmas show, because he and his brother are away at college. They're not back for another couple days. Well, just a couple years before this, Jane's down in Williamsburg visited one of her mother's friends, and they had this 16-foot cathedral ceiling, similar to our family room. We used to put a tree in there, it looked like the Snoopy Christmas tree. It's just out of place. She goes, hey, would you mind if we take this Christmas tree? I said, well, describe it. She goes, well, it's kind of big. So, again, this is now when he was a sophomore, 2 years prior, when the tree's coming. A caravan of trucks show up with this Christmas tree, because it was 8 feet wide by almost 16 feet high, and it would take me the better part of 6 hours to put this thing together. The next day I do the lights, the next day I help her decorate.
It's terrible.
So I said, put it all together. The kids aren't going to be home from Penn State and like coming for a couple days. We'll go up see Broadway again. Okay, so the tree's up, the lights on it, but it's all up. That was a 5 or 6 hour process. He's due back in 2 hours, or 2 days. So we get back home. As we get back home, we're driving up the driveway, and there's a few cars in the driveway. I'm like, okay. So I'm early from college, I guess. So we go in, there's a couple dead soldiers lying around, a couple of his buds laying sleeping in the hole.
Vacuum cleaners in the middle of the kitchen.
Well, I walk in expecting everything, and there's the tree in all its glory, nothing on it. So I'm looking around, and I'm like, what the hell? Something's got to be out of place. I'm looking around, nothing. Man, he's finally got it. He's a senior at Penn State. He gets it. I was pretty proud of him. Nothing happened. So 3 weeks later, he's back to school. Now, I had a deer stand in the back. I have just a couple deer stands in the back of our woods where we live, and I was out there, and big old buck finally came through, and one of my 7-pointers I got within a year apart from each other. I whacked this one. When you deer hunt, you got to whack a deer, and you got to let it go for 30 minutes. You can't push it. So I did this, and I'm listening, I'm whacking. And all of a sudden, about 25, 30 minutes later, I hear this crash. It was like all this metal rumbling. So I get down and I look out. I walk down behind my deer stand where I think he is, and there he is. I got him. There has to be 300, maybe 400 dead beer cans. So I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Not a big deal. I'm not going to blow any shit to him. I mean, you know what? He didn't do anything to the house. There's all these beer cans. So, I won't name names, but I'll just say I was sitting around somebody's campfire 4 years ago when somebody said, hey, Jethro. I go, yeah. He goes, do you remember that big-ass Christmas tree you had? Yeah. He says, and do you remember telling me the story about when you got that buck and he fell into all those beer cans? I go, yeah. So he produced a picture for Jane and I that had the entire empty tree adorned with 400 beer cans.
Coors Light to be exact.
All right, so I do have the blessing of the food. It takes 30 seconds, but in fairness to Sharon, she'd like to say something now.
No,
We'll wait
Okay.
first.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Yeah.
Can we do the blessing of the
Yes,
food?
we'll ask.
No, she's going later.
Oh, she's not.
Yeah.
Okay. I
No,
tried
he
to-
didn't. No, it's
I'll do it after.
Very nice stand out there.
She's going later.
Okay, so that we can get eating here.
Yeah.
Generous God, giver of all good gifts, we praise and thank you for Elliot and Jessica, and for allowing us to witness their love. May the joy of this gathering and the food we share be signs to us of your constant love. Bless us and the food we eat, and give us grateful hearts to sing your praise now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
On.